Hello, everyone. I wanted to follow up with another lecture on moral development and talk about a theorist by the name of Lawrence Kohlberg. He probably has what a lot of people consider to be a premier theory, though it does have its criticisms, and some of them are fairly legitimate criticisms and comments relevant to all of this. So let's go ahead and get started. When we speak of this, remember we're talking about moral development, and moral development is basically not a study of religion. We're not teaching Christianity or Judaism or Muslim or any other religion. We're talking about how children determine what is right and what is not right, okay, and how they rationalize that out. And really, one of the premier people to talk about is Dr. Lawrence Kohlberg. Dr. Kohlberg came up with a means of gauging a child's level of moral development, which is very similar to how other people, such as Jean Piaget, would do it. He created a story that he would tell his subjects as a way of getting started. The story, in essence, is a moral dilemma. Now, the story is called the story of Heinz. Heinz is not a very common name today, but in times gone by, it was a fairly common name, so you wouldn't think twice about it. And the story goes basically like this. Heinz is a man who lives in a small town, and there are variations of this story. But Heinz is a man who lives in a small town, and one day his wife gets very sick. In fact, he takes her to the doctor, and the doctor gives the bad news that his wife is so sick that she may die within the next 24 hours. But there is across town, the doctor tells Heinz and his wife, there is a pharmacist that dabbles in different medications and possibly has created a drug that could save the life of his spouse. So Heinz takes his wife home to let her rest and goes to see this pharmacist and says, I want to buy your drug. And the gentleman says, yes, you can buy the drug. That'll be $10,000. The amount changes depending upon the story. But Heinz basically says, I don't have $10,000. And the pharmacist says, I created it. I can charge what I want. So Heinz goes to all of his friends and he comes up with about half that amount of money. All right. He says, here's $5,000. $5,000. Give me the drug, and I swear to you, I'll pay you the other half. Or if nothing else, give me half the drug. I'll try that. And the pharmacist says, nope, I created the drug. I can charge what I want for it. You don't have the money. Go away. So basically, Heinz leaves and he's very frustrated. And in the middle of the night, he comes back to the store, to the pharmacy, and he breaks in and he steals that drug. So that's the story of Heinz, all right? Faced with a dilemma of a dying spouse and a drug that might save her life, but he can't afford it. Does he steal it or not? Now, this is the story that Kohlberg would tell his subjects. And then he would ask them two questions. First of all, he'd ask, is what he did, what Heinz did, right or wrong? Okay? And then really the big question is this. Why? Why is it right or why was it wrong? Based on the answer that you could get, you could determine what level of moral development an individual was in. Now, when it comes to Kohlberg's theory on moral development, all right, there are really three different levels. I put down stages here. In fact, there are sub-stages within the stages. I'm not going to get into the levels within them. I'm just going to talk about the three main ones, the pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. After telling a story to a subject, pre-conventional thinkers typically answered this question by looking at things from either a right or wrong, good or bad standpoint. Okay? Pre-conventional thinkers may tell you that what Heinz did was right by stealing the drug. And you always ask why, because that's where the answer lies. And you say, well, because he's keeping her alive. It's all about reward or punishment. Or you could get someone at this level, the pre-conventional level, who would say that what he did was wrong. And you might ask why. You say, well, because stealing's wrong. So people at the pre-conventional level understand right from wrong, good from bad. There's very little gray area. And though they know the rules, they haven't always what we call internalized them. They don't know why the rules are the way they are. It's just what they've heard. We see pre-conventional thinking a lot in small children. All right. That doesn't mean it's limited to small children, but that's where we see it a lot. The second level that Kohlberg talks about is people who are at a conventional level of moral development. People at a conventional level of moral development, they understand right from wrong, good from bad, but they have internalized it. They do understand why it's right or why it's wrong. Okay? But people at the conventional level will take it one step farther. They will turn around and take into consideration, when making moral judgments, they will take into consideration society's point of view. You could get a person at the conventional level who turns around and says, what Heinz did was right. Why? You always ask why. Well, because everyone knows, sort of the societal point of view, everyone knows that life is the most important aspect. Or you could get someone at the conventional level that says what he did was wrong. You always ask why. Well, because we have laws in this society. Stealing's wrong. Right? So it could go either way. You could get an answer at the pre-conventional level that's either right or his behavior's wrong, and at the conventional level, you could get someone rationalizing that his behavior was right or wrong. It's all in the explanation as to why. And then you have what is called the post-conventional level. The post-conventional level, at this level, people understand right from wrong, good from bad, just like the pre-conventionals. They have also internalized what they have learned as well, just like the conventional level of moral development. And people at the post-conventional level understand also society's point of view. But people at the post-conventional level will take it one step farther. They will turn around in making a moral judgment. They will take into consideration a more global, worldly, universal ethic, okay, in making judgments. You could get a person at the post-conventional level who is asked, did he do right or wrong by stealing the drug? And they may say what he did was right. He may go to jail, but in the greater good, he saved the life of his spouse, and so it's a good thing. Or you could get a post-conventional level thinker who would say what he did was wrong. Why? Well, because we have, not only do we have laws in this society, but in the greater good, if everyone breaks the law when it doesn't suit them, the law doesn't suit them, then you're going to turn around and have individuals, we're going to have chaos, and we can't have that. So once again, I want to point out, all three levels, all three stages, people can go either right or wrong. It's just in their explanation, okay? So this is really the three levels, the three stages here. And the highest level is obviously the post-conventional level, but a lot of people don't live at the post-conventional level. We live at a conventional level within the laws of the land. We may think post-conventionally, but we don't always act post-conventionally, all right? You ask a lot of people what they would do. I would steal the drug. But if you really put them in a real life situation, some might, but a lot of people may not. All right. Now there are criticisms of this theory, and they are worth noting. One of the big criticisms of this theory of moral development by Lawrence Kohlberg is that his theory is very justice driven. It's all about right from wrong. And really, that's the only thing that's taken into consideration in developing those three levels, the pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional. What is right from wrong, and that's about it. Some will argue, and you'll see here shortly, that there's more to making moral judgments than justice. All right. Another complaint that people have with his theory, Kohlberg's theory, is that in reality, the subjects he used were all boys. As I have been told, the reason for this, at least in part, was that there was a school, an all-boys school, close to the university that he was teaching at. And so it was just more convenient to go get subjects from them and have them take part. From what I've read and heard from others, It's not a case that he was trying to be sexist against girls or he didn't think girls could make moral judgments. That's not it at all. All right. He just went with the subjects that he had available to them. In fact, one of his biggest critics was at one time a colleague of his, and that was a woman by the name of Dr. Carol Gilligan. Dr. Gilligan, a very brilliant woman, very smart woman, was really the one that questioned the use of subjects that were all boys and the idea that his theory is based off the concept of justice. Dr. Gilligan also believes that you have to take into consideration what is called a care ethic. A care ethic is basically the idea of, uh, you know, how can I say this? Who you care about. All right. Who you care about is part of your moral dilemma. When making moral judgments, the people that matter to you can also be very important. If someone you love dearly has possibly broken the law, could you actually decide, I love them so much that no matter what, I think it's all right under the circumstance? Some people using a justice approach say, person goes to jail no matter what. But if it's a loved one that's in dire straits, would you turn around and, give them a break and stuff like that? That's sort of the care ethic. Dr. Gilligan, as a quick side note, still with us today, very smart woman, no doubt about it, really was a big critic of Dr. Kohlberg. But she sort of turned around and changed her fierce criticisms when actually Dr. Kohlberg passed away. It's sort of a point of contention if he had committed suicide or died because he was suffering from the effects of a defoliant from the Vietnam War called Agent Orange, that he was in such pain that he would actually take a dip in the Hudson River, of all things, there in New York City on occasion. And because supposedly the cold water was good on his joints and that. And some people say that he committed suicide. Other people say that Dr. Kohlberg turned around and got caught in a swell, an undertow, and lost his life in an accident. I give a great deal of respect to Dr. Gilligan because once Dr. Kohlberg passed away, she pretty much stopped all of her criticisms of the man because sometimes it seemed like it got a bit personal. She even admits that the care ethic, which she believes a lot of people do possess, is very important. But she can see where the justice ethic, the justice-driven concept, does come into play. The last thing I want to add is a discussion to get away from this just a little bit, but not too terribly far, is to talk about moral development in the teen years, the adolescent years. And really, to talk about this kind of stuff, we need to talk about this man right here, Dr. David Elkind. He's still with us today, I understand. And Dr. Elkind came up with a concept called the personal fable. The personal fable is a very fascinating concept because the idea behind the personal fable is this. People that exhibit a personal fable, and a lot of times these are teenagers and young adults, believe that certain things will not happen to them. They believe that they're above it. They know probability, they know the law, but they believe things will not happen to them. Okay? And sometimes they can't even explain the how and the why. What are some things that teenagers often do not think will happen to them? Well, they don't think they're going to die. All right? They're not going to, they don't need to wear a seatbelt. They don't need to worry about driving fast. They're not going to get into an accident. They're not going to die. If they're sexually active, you're not going to get pregnant. You're not going to get her pregnant. Okay? You're not going to get addicted to drugs. You're not going to turn around and get caught if you commit a crime. You ask teenagers and people like this, how do you know these things? And a lot of times they don't give you much explanation. I just do. I'm not going to get caught. I'm not going to get pregnant or get her pregnant. Not going to get a sexually transmitted disease. How do you know these things? I just do. These are examples of a personal fable. And this can really affect a teenager's moral development because their rationale is that they're sort of above it all. Now, if you were to ask me what level of moral development pre-conventional, conventional, or post-conventional a lot of people with a personal fable are at. And think about that for a second. Is it pre-conventional? No, I don't think people with a personal fable are at a pre-conventional level. They understand more than that. Are they at a conventional level? No, I don't believe they're at a conventional level either. The conventional level says they understand things and they take into consideration society's point of view and probability. They don't do that either. People at a personal fable who possess a personal fable often, in my opinion, are at a post conventional level of moral development. It is a flawed post conventional level of moral development. They believe they're above it all. They know the law, they know probability, they know chance, but they have this greater viewpoint that they're above it all, though it's not very proven. So just because a person's at the post-conventional level doesn't automatically mean that they are, going to turn around and get things right in that regard. So that's a lot of how that theory works. You can actually be at the highest level, and it doesn't mean that you have the highest level of moral development. It still can be flawed moral development. Okay. All right. So that's what we got for this so far. I want to go ahead and make one last little note here if I can. And that is, I would like to know how many people are actually watching these videos. They take a lot of time to put together, make up these slides, put them on YouTube and so on. So what I would like to do is this. For the first 5 people who turn around and have watched this video to the very end, okay, and you're hearing this now on this, I would like you to email me at my work email, of course, gambinj@otc.edu, and just turn around and in the subject line of the email you send me, put the phrase bonus, okay? Bonus, and you can say bonus psych 260. And if you turn around and send that to me, the first 5 people that do that, all right? Because I want to know if I'm making a difference. And to be quite frank, I'm hoping I'm not wasting my time by making all these things. But basically, I want to see if people are doing this, and I'll give you a 15 extra bonus points for the time in trouble. All right? So send me an email. Please don't go tell everyone else or your friends in the class. Let them figure this out on their own. All right? I would really appreciate if you wouldn't do that. But basically, turn around, send me an email. You can put in the line bonus and then put your name. Okay? So that I know to make sure to give you bonus. They may not appear until after the week is over because people will look in the grade book and wonder where'd that bonus come from. Well, I'll explain it a little bit later, but takes a lot of time. Hope people are taking advantage of it. All right, that's all I've got for now. Keep up the great work. Take care.